Hi everyone, and in today's video we're going to explore the rest of the central control area. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video for Phantasy Star Online Blueburst. In today's video we're just going to continue the lore playthrough of episode 2. So in the last episode we finally got to Galderville Island and we explored the jungle and mountain areas of central control area, and we discovered a little bit more about Flowen's backstory and that he was experimented on for science. So today we're just going to pick it back up where we're going to go back to central control and check out some of the other areas as well. So we're now up to this 173, which is Silent Beach. Thank you for coming, Hunter Taker. I'd like you to please continue the search for Heathcliff Flowen. Your operator has the information regarding the relevant search area. Please get the details from her. Thank you. Nice to see you, Taker. At present, security mode on the island is still in effect. So in the last episode, we arrived in central control area and there was a huge security gate blocking the entrance. So we have to go to 3 other areas of central control to disable these security locks to get access to the main area. According to Cal, you should be able to get to the area where the remaining security locks are from the area you were in last time. Also, the whereabouts of Mr. Flowen are still undetermined at this point in time. So he says, that's the final result of the current data analysis. When you're ready, go down the slope, turn right and go through the yellow gate. Then you'll see a teleporter. Good luck. So just a quick note as we get started as well. This is currently the anniversary event on Affinia as I'm recording this, so there might be lots of banner announcements while I'm doing this video. There's nothing I can really do about it, it's just that there's a lot of things dropping at the moment. So when we access this here, it says Mountain Area Security Mode cancelled because we came to Mountain last time. The way that this episode 2 tends to work is you tend to complete an area. And then the next quest you'll tend to start in the area that you completed last time. So we will search it to see if there's any logs. And there's no logs on this one, so I guess this is meant to be the terminal that we got to last time. So we'll just push ahead and I'll cut to when we get the next terminal. Okay, so we now get towards the end of Mountain and there is another terminal here, so we will check this. So nothing on this one either, so I'm guessing the whole point of Mountain is just to get to the Seaside area, which is where we're going now. So as we get into Seaside, there's immediately another terminal, so I'd imagine this one will have a log. Yep, so we've got a new data log there, so we'll keep an eye out for any terminals from the lab. So this is the Seaside area, and again you can see it's very much almost untouched by Pioneer 1. I mean, there is things like the security gates, but there is very little encroachment into this area. So whether this is because maybe Pioneer 1 didn't see the need to start developing here, or maybe it's because they didn't get a chance to because of the explosion. It's kind of hard to tell, but we can tell that Pioneer 1 haven't really been in this area too much. Again, we do have this mix of enemies as well, so we do have the native enemies, like these geese, the little flying things. We also have the Morelias, which are altered beasts, so there is still this mixture of enemies here. Again, I say this every video for this playthrough, but we're just doing this in normal because the whole point of this is just to blow through and get to the actual lore, rather than actually playing through it for kills. One of the other things I will say about Seaside is, regarding the encroachment of the human activity, is there is also always seems to be a lot of traps in Seaside like that. So clearly someone put those traps there. Obviously they serve a purpose in game, you know, in game terms, just to be a hazard, but it does make you wonder if, because there's so many traps on the Seaside, if maybe Pioneer 1 was trying to stop people from getting to Galderville from the sea. Again, it's probably a bit of a stretch, but So just to anyone doing this quest, there is actually another terminal hidden here. which is just off this room here. It is kind of hidden out the way, so it is very easy to miss. So we'll search this one as well. So there's another log there. So I'm going to assume that one of these terminals is probably the creature log for Seaside, and the other one is probably another log from Flowen. We do have another terminal from the lab here, so we'll check both those out now. So first of all, we'll check the analysis data, and we'll go to Seaside. I'll explain the creature data that has been uncovered so far. According to data from the facility, test code level alpha, subject, native creature. So again, we've got these test codes. So again, does this implicate that Pioneer 1 were experimenting on the local life? Or observing them in some capacity? That's what they called it. Mutated giant bee found in Seaside area. We call it Gigu here at the lab. Gigu controls numerous small bees. They're called Gi. Their relationship works just like the queen bee and soldier bees. Also, Gigu carries a powerful energy charge on its stinger. Gigu have also been observed creating net-like barriers. Don't treat them as insignificant creatures, they're dangerous. They're also incredibly annoying, as anyone who plays a Sky-like character will know, because you'll be hunting them a hell of a lot. So next we've got the message log. And we actually don't have anything from Flowen, so that must mean that... Oh, we've actually got some more details here, okay. So we'll check control area first, just in case we've got it, but I'm suspecting this is probably still locked. Oh no, we do actually have it. I'll explain the creature data that's been uncovered so far. And this is what I made about the banners during the event. Someone just found a Psycho Wand. There's been a lot of Psycho Wand drops during this event from Middle East, so maybe I should hunt one. Data from the facility says, test code level alpha product, search and capture unit. According to the analysis on Beryl and Spiggle, they were deployed to protect the central area and test sites. So interestingly that they're calling them test sites. So the central area is probably the main area we're trying to unlock. Test sites, does that mean that Jungle, Mountain and Seaside are test sites, potentially? Or does that mean there's something else going on? De facto infection has been discovered in the AI of these two types. Now that should start ringing major alarm bells for two reasons. One is that we know that from the events of episode 1, that a lot of the machines' AI went berserk as a result of the influence of faults. And we also know that from the Flowen logs, that we know that Flowen was infected with what was called a de facto infection. So things are starting to come together slightly now of what may be going on. The viral infection is identical to that found under the central dome. Exactly what I just said. This also demonstrates the de facto's ability to infiltrate machines. So we now know this pretty much now 100% confirms that the machines in the mines in episode 1 were berserk as a result of faults as de facto. Let's see, what else? Its equipment is photon camouflage, transport generator, incineration device. Those are some terms you don't hear every day. It's categorized under capture type. Part of this technology was developed in the Pioneer 1 lab. That's very interesting. So why were Pioneer 1 developing capture robots? What were they trying to capture? So next we do have a couple of others. These are probably just in-game hints, I would imagine, but we'll check them. So area structure. Let's see. According to the analysed data, the island is divided into 4 areas. The jungle, mountain and seaside areas don't seem to have any large facilities, so this again kind of confirms that maybe Pioneer 1 weren't focused on these areas. Or didn't need facilities built up here. I wonder if they were used as experimental sites or something. So this is kind of what I was hinting at earlier, so it's kind of sounding like Pioneer 1 were monitoring jungle, mountain and seaside and using them as like test beds. but we don't know for what exactly. But given that there is altered base and de facto infected machines here, things kind of aren't adding up, and this is not sounding very promising. Located in the centre of these three areas is the central control area, which controls the whole island. The tower in the central control area controls the entire island, but the entrance gate to the control tower is sealed off. This is because control tower is a separate series of quests. The security for this gate is on an independent system. It looks like the tower has been locked down. So does that indicate that maybe something has gone horribly wrong in tower and they've had to lock it down? Or are they wanting to lock it down and prevent people from getting in? So next we'll go to Photon Camouflage. Photon Camouflage. This new technology was developed by Pioneer 1. The camouflage won't make things completely invisible, but it will not be detected by radar, so it makes things tricky. However, if you look real carefully, you can detect them with your naked eye. Also, it seems that some traps were developed using this technology, so be careful when walking around. So this applies to Sinnoh barrels, Sinnoh spigoles, but also to traps on the ground as well. Next up we've got security sensors. Security sensors. These have been placed in various parts of the facility. They were designed only to warn intruders. That's what the data says anyway. But you never know, so be careful just in case. Yeah, and as you'll know, with the security sensors, they don't just warn intruders, they actually fire techniques at them. So again, this is things that are not listed by Pioneer 1, so Pioneer 1 are very clearly hiding things again. It's kind of sad PSO because you can kind of say that Pioneer 1 almost orchestrated their own downfall. Just by messing with things that shouldn't be messed with. So again, we are just keeping an eye out for any more terminals in case there's another message from Flowen. Again, we've got this kind of weird light effect as well. We had this in one of the jungle quests where the lighting very obviously changed. It might be hard to see on camera, but there is a sort of almost like an overcast haze in this area, which I'm assuming is because of Gigu. The main issue with this room is the fact that the little nest things that pop up, they actually get in the way of shots. So we do have the security lock here for Seaside, so we'll unlock that. There is also another terminal here as well, so we'll search this. And there is an item there, so instead of going, because I'm assuming that takes me to the lab. Instead of going back to the lab, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly nip back to the terminal from the lab, just so we can check this log. Okay, so we made it back to one of the lab terminals, so let's check out that log entry we got. So we got message log 4. I had no knowledge of this facility until I was brought here. So clearly very, very top secret if the deputy commander of the military didn't know about it. I was transferred to this island far from the central dome. Surface and the seabed. The island is one giant laboratory. All of the top scientists from Pioneer 1 were there waiting for me. Dr. Osto, of course, and even Dr. Graves, the photon engineer. Now, if Graves rings a bell, it's because there is a quest where you look after, I believe it's one of his children, in the Graves Butler. Where you basically take one of his, I believe it's his daughter, to try and find out what happened to their butler. So her father was a really famous scientist on Pioneer 1. I believe her name is Martha, if I remember correctly. This was all part of their plan. Soon, the experiments began on my body. So remember that Flowen had donated his body to science, but it's clear that the scientific team are basically just going to use him as a guinea pig to try loads of different things on, because he's, as far as I'm aware, he's the only person who had survived a run-in with faults who had survived and got the D-factor infection. I don't know the details, but the research seemed to span many areas. And from the look on Osto's face, the results were fairly positive. But then, I heard news of another sublife form outbreak from the ancient ship. So this is very likely referring to Redring Rico investigating the ruins. This again sort of confirms that episode 2 overlaps with episode 1. So we know that obviously Rico found the ruins and ended up, you know, unfortunately meeting her maker with faults. This sub-life form outbreak is probably that, with Rico going through ruins. So this means that while Rico is working her way through ruins, Flowen is getting experimented on Galderval. It was still alive. Now that I think about it, the concept of death doesn't apply to it. We just didn't understand. That is why the ancients have kept it sealed inside that spaceship, deep beneath the surface of this planet. Mysterious photons, an eternal life form. Now I can see why all the doctors were so excited. So Flowen is obviously realising now that Dark Falls is still around and that there's been some kind of outbreak in the ruins again. At the moment, he probably isn't aware that it's Redring Rico that has gone there, but maybe it's on his mind. You know, Flowen will no doubt be aware that Rico is one of the top hunters on Pioneer 1. He will be aware of that. He obviously shares quite a close relationship with her based on things we've seen previously. So he's probably aware that Rico will quite likely be involved in investigating things. He knows that she's a very curious mind as well. So it's probably starting to play on his mind that perhaps Rico could be in danger. So it's very, very interesting that Flowen is clearly worried about the events going on in the ruins, while he himself is being subjected to all of these medical experiments. So with that, we'll go back to the lab. Glad to see you safe and sound. We've compiled quite a lot of information from this investigation, but the whereabouts of Heathcliff Flowen are as of yet unknown. But because you were able to deactivate the island's security mode, investigating the island's facility is now possible. Undertaker, please get ready for your next mission. That is all. So I'll speak to Ellie quickly. Good work, Taker. With this mission, all security locks are now disabled, so we can now access the main part of the island. Galderval's security is now offline, and the real investigation can proceed as we examine the facility. Please continue your superb work with this investigation. We here at the lab are really quite satisfied with the data readings that you brought back. Maybe the Chief has overlooked something? I think that it was very good for her to have gotten your help. I think he said that last time. So with that, we'll move on to the next quest. Okay, so our next one is 7-4 Central Control. Thank you for coming, Undertaker. With the security mode now off, we can enter the central control area. Your task shall be to find any information in the central control area of Galderval Island. Retrieve any data there as you investigate. Your operator has all the necessary details. Thank you. Here is the situation. With all of the security locks disabled, you can now get into the facility from the main gate in the central control area. Information about the interior of the facility comes from unmanned probes that we sent. But it looks like the facility houses the island's main control. Your current mission is to get inside the facility and investigate. This will most likely be very dangerous, so please be careful, Taker. Ellie really puts her heart and soul into her work, but seeing how passionate she is working her way there at her terminal, she gives some sort of vibe about her emotional state. It's kind of unsettling. I'm guessing that what he means by that is that maybe he's noticed about how passionate Ellie is regarding machines and AI. Dan probably isn't aware of Ellie's past and the events that happened in episode 1, so it kind of makes sense that he would find it a little bit unsettling. So with that, we'll go back to central control area. Take it. Ellie here from the lab. You did it. You unlocked the security locks in each area. We've confirmed that the main gate is unlocked. You should be able to enter the facility. But be careful and stay alert. It'll probably be more dangerous inside than it was outside. So with that, we can go up to the gate. And the gate finally unlocks for us. And this reveals the actual central control area. So this is where the main towers are. So if I use Affinia's free cam, you can see that from here we can see the control tower. This is what was talked about earlier. So this is where the main control of the island is orchestrated from. But as it was said, the control towers at the moment are completely locked down. There is another one over the other side as well. So these are completely locked down at the moment. We can't access them. So for now, all we can do is explore the area around the towers and see if we can find any information. We'll just quickly search this terminal and see if there's anything on here. And there's nothing there at the moment, so we'll push further in. So you can see straight away there's a lot of traps here and a lot of things like guard machines, so it's quite clear that Pioneer 1 probably didn't want people in here. It also speaks a lot that the entire island was on lockdown. We still don't know the exact reason why the island was on lockdown in the first place. But given things that Flowen said, given that the ancient spaceship is now back active again at this point in the timeline, it should be pretty obvious that things are getting pretty serious. You see, we do also have these security systems around, so there is this obvious push to try and keep people out. That's a very well hidden Sinnoh. So enemies here are pretty much the same as every other area in Central Control, so it's just like a mixture of them all. What you tend to find in Central Control is that each of the outer areas tends to focus on a specific type, so the mountain area focuses mainly on the gibbons, the seaside mainly focuses on the geese, and the jungle mainly focuses on the morelias. In Central Control, it's kind of a mixture of everything. If we look at across here, we can see we're fairly near the coast. There is obviously some kind of, I'm guessing this is probably the jungle surrounding us at the moment. There is obviously a coastal line as well, so that is probably the seaside area. You also see there is this section over here, which is very obviously industrial and potentially maybe it's like power generation. It's kind of hard to tell. But again, I think I mentioned this before, but it's very, very built up here. So it's clear that Pioneer 1 were focusing their efforts on this part of Galderval in terms of the built up area. So I'm guessing that this is probably where maybe the scientific teams were based initially. So we do have a lot of Sinnohs here. So again, this is just lending credence to the fact that Pioneer 1 really didn't want people here. But however, we do also know that these Sinnohs are de facto infected, so it could be that they're not even under the control of Pioneer now. It could be that they've just gone berserk and are just attacking anything. You can also see this photon camouflage that the terminals mentioned as well. Again, this kind of begs the question of why would Pioneer 1 need photon camouflage necessarily? And we also know that the Sinnohs were there to capture things, so again, what were they trying to capture? So you can see we're now in this area I was talking about earlier. So we have these platforms out at sea. It's really hard to tell what these would be used for, honestly. It could be potentially mooring points for seacraft or anything, really. It could even just be maintenance platforms for these, whatever these are, the rotating things. The interesting thing about those rotating things is they've got lights on them that are shining into the water. So maybe it's something to do with monitoring the life in the water potentially. We already know that they're obviously using the central control areas as a test site anywhere. So maybe they're doing it to yeah, maybe they're doing it just to monitor the different types of life. So we know we've already got all these natives and altered beasts, but potentially they're monitoring the marine life as well, which would make sense from a scientific point of view. It's so nice having Mericarrows that don't instant kill you. Yeah, so I'm going to assume that each of these platforms is going to focus on a different area. So the last one was primarily Morelias and Mericarrows. I'm going to guess this one's just going to be Gibbons and Gibbles. That'd be my assumption. It does appear to be that way. We do have some Geese as well, so maybe it's Geese as well. What might be quite obvious already is that central control is clearly a lot more dangerous than the other areas on Galderval. There's a much higher concentration of enemies here. But the interesting thing is that, remember, this is the part of the island that was locked. And the security locks were there to prevent people from getting in. So why is the part that is preventing people from getting in the part that is incredibly dangerous? So it does make you wonder, like, has something horribly gone wrong with the experiments that Pioneer 1 were doing here? Yeah, so we've now got a third platform, so I would assume this one's going to be mainly Geese and Gigus. Okay, with that, we go back to the lab. So it's actually quite a short quest, this one, honestly. Okay, so let's hand that back into Natasha. Welcome back, Undertaker. Can you directly access the interior facility? Well, it's okay. You've done so much work for us at the lab already. We still just don't know if Heathcliff Flowen is alive or not. The lab is going back over the data you brought back to us. Once we have some results from those analyses, we'll be certain to call on you again. Good luck for your next mission too. It's too bad that you weren't able to access the central control area, but the data that you brought back to us is still quite valuable. We're going back over it again now. When we're done, we'll have a new investigation orders for you. Too bad that you couldn't find a direct route to the central control area. But at least you're back safe and sound. Still, what's up with that huge group of enemies? With that many of them around down there, I have to wonder if the people from the facility are alright. Well, let's not worry about that and focus on what's to come instead. Investigation of the area itself is at least complete. The lab is currently analysing the batch of data that you brought in, Taker. We'll probably have a new request for you when we get the results. But for now, why don't you go and rest up? Thank you again, Taker. So yeah, obviously we weren't able to get into the central control area itself this time. So the lab is trying to figure out how we can get a direct route in and what the reason is for the blockage and why we can't go any further. Once they know more, then we'll get another job. So we'll end that one there for today. In the next episode, we will finish up central control area proper and we'll find out what awaits us after that. I feel that the episode 2 story will just pick up drastically once you get to this stage, so it is starting to get to the part of the episode 2 now where the story is starting to really give us a lot more to focus on, and we're starting to piece things together slowly. If you played episode 1, you can see that there are some very obvious similarities between the story of episode 1 and episode 2, such as things with the D factor, with machines going berserk and everything. There is some definite parallels, and now we know that this is kind of taking place at around the same time as the ruins investigation that Rico was involved with. So you can kind of put together what might be going on if you put the timelines together. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed this video so far. So next time we will finish CCA and we'll see what's beyond that. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, or joining as a member. We do normally 2 videos a week, mainly Phantasy Star content, although we do dabble in other things. We do a stream on a Sunday, which will nearly always be Phantasy Star, and that streams on YouTube and on Twitch at Section Skyline. I also occasionally do some midweek streams as well, so feel free to follow us there for other stuff. But yeah, hope to see you there. You can also follow me on Twitter at Section Skyline as well, and we also have a Discord that you can join, which I'll leave a link to in the description. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.